Summary, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Book link. Click here. Here is a summary of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The central message of Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now is that living in the present moment is the most accurate path to happiness and enlightenment. The mind is the source of the ego and psychological time, creating suffering. The ego emerges when we identify with the mind, resulting in an obsession with psychological past and future, and a denial of the present. Psychological time is the mental construct of past and future, and has little relation to physical time. Tolle suggests that we stop identifying with the ego and start living in the present moment, the now. When we do so, we transcend the limitations of the mind and the suffering it creates. Living in the present means surrendering the analytical mind, relinquishing the concept of past and future, and accessing our deepest selves. It aligns us with our true nature as consciousness, which is unconditionally free of suffering. We feel a deep peace and connection with ourselves and the universe when we are fully present. Tolle presents methods for living in the now like meditation, focusing on the breath, sensing the inner body, and surrendering to the present moment. A radical transformation occurs when we become conscious of being conscious. This shift in consciousness allows us to live in the present moment, free of the limited perspective of the mind. According to Tolle, this is a collective evolution in human consciousness happening at this time in history. When we live consciously in the present moment, we fulfill the ultimate purpose of human existence, the realization of unconditioned consciousness as life itself. Here is a summary. The author describes experiencing moments of stunning beauty that temporarily freeze the chattering mind and provide a glimpse into a deeper reality. He calls these peak experiences. The author has spent 10 years studying with leading thinkers in various fields who believe humanity is undergoing an evolutionary shift in worldview. The emerging worldview questions some of the central myths of Western society, that humanity has reached the pinnacle of development. There are higher stages of development with extraordinary capacities, that we are separate from each other and nature. All of existence is interconnected. That the physical world is all there is. There are other dimensions of reality, including a non-physical or spiritual dimension. The new worldview sees ourselves, others and life through the eyes of our being or true self, not the smaller earthly self. Eckhart Tolle's message is that humanity's problems are rooted in identification with the mind. Our drifting awareness and lack of presence create suffering. The antidote is to disidentify from thought, reconnect with our being, and be fully present. The book summarizes Eckhart Tolle's teachings, which the author believes can transform lives and awaken readers to who they are. Here is a summary. The author describes his life before age 30 as filled with anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. One night at age 29, he experiences an intensification of dread and despair about life and existence. He feels a strong urge to end his life. Suddenly, he has the realization that I cannot live with myself implies there are two selves, the I and the self I cannot live with. He realizes that only one self is authentic. This realization creates a vortex of energy that pulls him in. He experiences fear but then hears resist nothing and surrenders to it. He has no memory of what follows. He awakens feeling everything, including light and sound, as profoundly alive and beautiful in a way he never experienced before. He spends the next 5 months in deep peace and bliss. He comes to understand he experienced a withdrawal of consciousness from identification with the false, suffering self into the ever-present I am, consciousness in its pure state. He has glimpses of an even deeper bliss and sacredness since then. For a while he lives with no identity or relationships, just sitting in intense joy. He says peace has never left him since, though it varies in intensity. People started asking him how to achieve what he had. His answer became this book. The book conveys the essence of the spiritual teaching he has offered individuals and groups over the past 10 years. He thanks those who challenged and supported him. The key points are, 1. There are 2 levels of self, the false, suffering self and the true I am consciousness. 2. One can withdraw consciousness from the false self into the true self. 3. This results in a deep peace, joy, and bliss that persists. 4. The author's teachings aim to help others find this true consciousness. Here is a summary. Enlightenment is realizing your natural state of felt oneness with being. It is finding your true nature beyond name and form. The inability to feel this oneness gives rise to the illusion of separation, leading to fear, conflict, and suffering. Enlightenment is the end of suffering. The Buddha defined enlightenment as the end of suffering. This is a negative definition, so the mind cannot turn it into something to attain or believe in. Most Buddhists still think enlightenment is not for them. Being is the eternal, ever-present one life beyond all forms. However, being is also the innermost essence of all forms. To become enlightened is not to achieve some superhuman accomplishment but to return to your natural state. It is a state of connectedness with something immeasurable and indestructible. Enlightenment is your natural state, not some superhuman achievement. The ego likes to make it into some impossible goal so you keep seeking but never find. However, it is simply the end of suffering. The peace that comes with enlightenment is unshakable. It includes joy, love, fulfillment, and security but is infinitely greater than anything the world can offer. That covers the key points about enlightenment and being according to the author. Please let me know if you want me to clarify or expand on any summary part. Here is a summary. The word being refers to the ineffable, transcendental reality beyond words and mental images. It is your true self and essence. You can only experience it in stillness, beyond thought. The greatest obstacle to experiencing being is excessive thinking and identification with the mind. This perpetuates the illusion of separateness and obscures your natural state of wholeness and peace. You are not your mind. The mind is an instrument you can learn to observe and master. Currently, the mind uses and possesses you, rather than the other way around. You can begin to free yourself from the mind by watching your thoughts and the thinker. Listen to your thoughts impartially without judgment. As you do, you realize there is a deeper eye that is witnessing the mind. When you observe your thoughts this way, they lose power and subside. You experience gaps of inner stillness. This is the beginning of ending involuntary and compulsive thinking. In those still, gap moments, you can experience being, your true self. You realize you are one with all of life, not separate entities. This is enlightenment, an end of suffering and mental tyranny, and a liberation into wholeness, peace and joy. While thinking and achieving have their place, being is the essence. Beauty, love, joy, and creativity arise from being, not the mind. The mind is a valuable tool and servant, but a disastrous master. The realization of being brings an end to reliance on the external world for fulfillment or identity. Life is lived more lightly, freely and spontaneously from within. There is an inexplicable okayness at a deep level that covers the key points about experiencing being by freeing yourself from excessive thinking and identification with the mind. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Here is a summary. No mind state. Mind refers to a gap in the incessant stream of thinking, a state of inner stillness and peace. Initially, the gaps will be short, but they become more extended with practice. In this state, there is a sense of felt oneness with being and a subtle joy from within. It is not a trance-like state but one of heightened awareness and aliveness. To enter this state, one can observe one's thoughts and create a gap by directing attention into the now. Another way is to give full attention to a routine activity, turning it into an end. The degree of peace one feels is the measure of one's success. Thinking is essential for physical survival, but most thinking could be more varied, functional, and healthy. It is an addiction, seeming involuntary and giving a false sense of pleasure that turns to pain. One is identified with one's thoughts, deriving one's sense of self from them. The ego or phantom self can only continue through constant thinking, focused on the past and future, ignoring the now. Enlightenment means transcending thought, not losing the ability to think. In enlightenment, thinking is used in a focused way when needed, but there is an underlying stillness. Creativity arises from oscillating between thought and no thought. Thought alone lacks real power and becomes destructive. The mind is good at survival, attack, defense, and analysis but needs to be more creative. True creativity and the miracle of life rise from an intelligence more significant than the mind. When the mind reconnects with this intelligence, it becomes a beautiful tool serving something greater than itself. Emotions arise where mind and body meet. An emotional reaction is the body's response to the mind. Strong emotions even change one's biochemistry. To free oneself of attachment to emotions, see them as temporary, an expression of the pain body. Allow them to be and pass, focusing on the underlying energy instead. Here is a summary. Emotions are the mind's reflection in the body. They represent the physical and material aspect of your thoughts and mental processes. You are not always consciously aware of all your thoughts and thinking patterns. Watching your emotions can help bring them into awareness. The more identified you are with your thinking and judgments, the stronger your emotional reactions will be. Unexpressed emotions can manifest as physical problems or symptoms. Strong unconscious emotions can also manifest as external events that happen to you. If you have trouble accessing your emotions, focus your attention on the inner energy field of your body. This can help you connect with your emotions. Observing your emotions, as with observing your thoughts, leads to greater awareness and presence. An emotion is usually an amplified thought pattern. It can take you over if you lack awareness. Your thoughts and emotions can feed into a vicious circle, energizing each other. All emotions stem from a primordial feeling of pain, fear, and incompleteness that arises from losing touch with your true being. The mind tries to escape this pain, but cannot succeed. Only by disidentifying with the mind can you become free of this pain. Love, joy and peace lie beyond emotions. They arise from your natural state of interconnectedness with being. Emotions, rooted in the mind, are subject to opposites. What we usually call joy or love alternates with pain. Glimpses of more profound love and joy are possible when your mind quiets. To be free of suffering, cut the bonds of desire and craving. Do not seek to achieve enlightenment. Become present and watch the mind. Pain is inevitable as long as you are identified with your mind. Here is a summary. Much of human suffering is self-created through non-acceptance and resistance to the present moment. The more you identify with your mind, the more you suffer. The more you can honor and accept the now, the more pain-free you are. To stop creating time and thus suffering, realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now your primary focus. Say yes to the present moment. The present moment may sometimes be unpleasant, but accept whatever it contains as if you chose it. Work with it, not against it. This transforms life. 48. Unresolved emotional pain accumulates and forms a pain body that occupies the mind and body. The pain body wants to survive and feed on more pain. The pain body activates when triggered by thoughts or experiences that resonate with old pain. It takes over your thinking and causes negative feelings and self-destructive behaviors. The pain body is afraid of awareness and the light of consciousness. However, to be free of it, you must face it and bring awareness to your old pain. To awaken from the pain body, catch negative thoughts and feelings as they arise, before they take over. Observe them without judgment, and allow them to be without acting on them. Ultimately, releasing pain and unhappiness in yourself helps release it from the collective mind of humanity, even as choosing joy and peace adds to it. We impact each other through the collective energy field. Here are the key points. Fear is a psychological condition that is divorced from any immediate danger. It is anxiety over what might happen in the future. Since you can only exist in the present moment, fear arises from the mind projecting into the future. Fear arises because ego feels constantly under threat. Ego is the false self created by the mind, and it sees itself as vulnerable even when outwardly confident. The underlying cause of all fear is ego's fear of death, of non-existence. The ego feels death is always looming. When you are identified with your mind, the ego runs your life. Ego sends messages of danger and threat, generating the emotion of fear. You do not need fear to avoid danger, just intelligence and common sense based on experience. Shrinking from immediate threats is an instinctive reaction, not the psychological fear being discussed. Psychological fear comes in many forms: worry, anxiety, dread, phobias. However, they all fear what might happen, not what is happening now. This creates an anxiety gap between the present and the mind's projections. When you are in touch with the power of the present moment, the anxiety gap and psychological fear disappear. However, when you are identified with your mind, fear will be your constant companion. You can cope with the present but not the future that exists only in your mind. Fear will persist as long as you are identified with your mind. Does this help summarize the key discussion points about fear and ego? Let me know if you have any other questions. Here is a summary. The problems of the mind cannot be solved on the level of the mind. Once you understand how your mind works, you do not need to explore its complex workings further. Your mind is not dysfunctional, it is a valuable tool. The dysfunction happens when you identify with your mind and ego, mistaking them for your true self. This creates a false sense of self rooted in fear and lack. The key is to disidentify from your mind, and the illusion of time, and remove yourself from mind dominance. The mind is stuck in the past and future, creating an unwillingness to be fully present. But without time, you can feel like you lack goals and identity. However, time is an illusion. The moment is all there truly is, the only point that takes you beyond your mind. The past and future are just reflections of the present. Nothing has ever happened outside the present moment. The past and future are imaginary, projections and memory traces in the mind. They have no reality of their own. Only the present moment is real. Disidentifying from the mind and ending the illusion of time is the key to escaping the ego and accessing your true self. The eternal now is all there is. Your life unfolds in the now. There was never a time when your life was not now. Here is a summary. Our usual sense of reality is borrowed from the present moment, the now. The now is the only thing that is real. In emergencies or life-threatening situations, our consciousness naturally shifts to the now. Some people engage in dangerous activities to force themselves into this intense state of presence. Spiritual teachings across traditions point to the now as the key to spiritual awakening and enlightenment. However, this truth seems to have remained largely a secret. The essence of Zen and other teachings is about living on the razor's edge of now. Suffering and problems cannot survive in the now. A moment of intense presence can transform our perceptions. However, we need a permanent shift in consciousness, not just glimpses. We can achieve this by observing our mind's tendency to escape the now and stepping out of psychological time. Identification with the mind removes us from the now. Observation of the mind with detachment leads to presence. We still need to use clock time for practical matters. However, we can avoid the build-up of psychological time by returning to the now as much as possible between those practical needs. Enlightened beings continue using clock time but are free of psychological time. It is essential to distinguish clock time from psychological time to avoid transforming the former into the latter. Using past lessons or planning future goals can be done with presence. 66 Here is a summary. The present moment is all you ever have. Psychological time is a mental disease that causes suffering. Most people are trapped in an unhealthy obsession with the past and future, which causes them to ignore or deny the present moment. This results in negativity, unhappiness, and problems. True freedom and salvation are found in the present moment, not in the past or future. Although your present life situation may be difficult, shift your attention away from your mind's judgments about it and focus on your direct experience of the present moment. Use your senses fully. Accept the present moment as it is instead of resisting it. This will help you access your inner stillness and peace. The present moment holds the key to freedom and happiness. Your problems cannot survive in the present moment, so spending more time in the present can help dissolve them. You can reach a state of consciousness free of negativity and suffering with practice. This state is already within you. You must access it in the present moment. Here is a summary. To experience inner peace and freedom from psychological time, avoid creating problems and unnecessary pain for yourself. Let things be as they are, accept the isness of the present moment, and your life will flow with more joy, ease, and lightness. The compulsive need to become anything other than who you already are diminishes, and you realize you are already whole. The psychological desire to use things, people, or situations in the future to make you happy also lessens. Though you may still pursue external goals and acquire things in the world, your more profound sense of wholeness and completion is found within. You become non-attached to outcomes, free from fear of loss or failure. Nothing ultimately matters except living in the now. Success is measured by joy, peace, and embracing what is. Your happiness and inner freedom no longer depend on things outside your control. This is the path to enlightenment and living a spiritual life. Let me know if you want me to clarify or expand on any summary part. Here is a summary. Even accepting time as an illusion, we still have to live in a world dominated by time. Intellectual agreement alone does not free us from time. We must live this truth. Only by being fully present can we transcend time. We still have responsibilities, but the real problem is losing the present moment. To be free of time is to no longer need the past for identity or the future for fulfillment. This shift in consciousness is profound. For most, it happens gradually through choosing presence over time. Ordinary unconsciousness means identifying with thoughts and emotions and reacting habitually. This causes unease and restlessness. Challenges intensify this, pulling us into deep unconsciousness and suffering. How we face challenges shows our level of consciousness. We must cultivate presence in ordinary times to handle difficult times. When present, negative energies cannot affect us. The mind habitually resists the now with judgment and projection. Western culture manifests an acute restlessness and desire for more. This was noted even centuries ago and is tied to loss of being. To be free of this, observe how the mind creates unease through judgment, resistance, and denial. Shining light on the unconscious frees us from it. Start with ordinary unconsciousness, then deep unconsciousness will be easier to avoid. Choosing presence over time leads to transcending time. What matters is how we live, not what we agree with. Ultimate freedom comes from embracing each moment. Here is a summary. Monitor your thoughts and emotions through self-observation. Ask yourself, what is happening inside me right now? And observe your inner state. Notice any negative or uneasy feelings, as well as any resistance to the present moment. Typical forms of ordinary unconsciousness and resistance to the now include carrying resentment toward someone. This creates negativity and unhappiness. Either express it, drop it, or leave the situation. Complaining about a situation you are in. This makes you a victim and is non-acceptance of what is. Could you take action to change it or accept it? Preferring to be somewhere else. Accept where you are, your here and now. If you are unhappy, remove yourself. change the situation, or accept it. Judging emotions as negative. While accepting your emotions is essential, prolonged indulgence in unhappy ones strengthens separation and ego. Healing is available through presence and choice. Accept whatever arises, but do not defend your right to be unconscious or to suffer. Choose presence, joy, and peace over separation and negativity. Take responsibility for your inner space. It affects the outer space of the world. Here's a summary. Drop negativity and clear your inner space before taking any action. Action arising from insight is more effective than action arising from negativity. Taking action is better than no action, even if you make mistakes. You at least learn from them. Fear prevents action, so acknowledge it, watch it, and be present. The power of the now can overcome fear. Surrender to the present moment if you cannot change your situation. This frees you internally and may even change your external situation. Stress comes from wanting to be in the future rather than the present. Remove stress by being present in current activities. The past is unnecessary baggage that accelerates aging. Live in the present moment. Worry creates fear of an imaginary future. Deal with the present moment, not projections. You have the resources to deal with the present but not an unknown future. Waiting reduces the quality of life by losing the present moment. Do not wait to start living. The present moment is all we have. True prosperity comes from gratitude for the present, not waiting for the future. Snap out of habitual past or future thinking and come into the present moment. The false self lives in time, but time threatens its existence. Stay in the present. Have purpose and direction in life but focus on the present step of your journey. The present moment is all that exists in your journey. Balance outer purpose with inner purpose. Here are some pointers for arising in stillness. Make it a habit to withdraw your attention from the mind and focus it in the present moment whenever you become aware of it. Slow down. Avoid rushing from one place or activity to another. Take your time. Do less. Spend time in nature. Practice mindfulness, deliberate stillness and presence. It could be through meditation, yoga, tai chi, or simply sitting still for a few minutes, focusing on your breath or the sounds around you. Minimize distractions and busyness. Turn off background noise like radios and TVs. Spend time alone each day in silence. Observe your thoughts and perceptions with detachment. Do not believe your thoughts or identify with them. You are not the voice in your head, you are the awareness that hears it. Focus on the breath moving in and out. This pulls you into the present moment like an anchor. Breathe naturally and notice the flow of your inhalations and exhalations. Do routine activities consciously, walking, brushing your teeth, washing dishes, etc. Give each action your entire attention. Move at a slower, more deliberate pace. Ground yourself in your body through yoga, body scan meditation, or simply noticing bodily sensations throughout the day. Your body is always in the present moment. Make eye contact, smile, and say hello to strangers. Interacting with others in small ways helps you engage in the present moment and appreciate the humanity and people around you. Spend time in nature. Go for walks outside, and connect with the earth by walking barefoot in the grass or sand. The natural world reminds us of the stillness within and without us. Reflect on impermanence. All things change: thoughts, emotions, situations, relationships, and the world around you. Appreciate what you have now. Does this help explain stillness and offer valuable ways to cultivate it in your daily life? Let me know if you have any other questions. Here's a summary. Presence is a state of no mind and total awareness of the present moment. It allows us to perceive beauty and truth that the mind cannot. Moments of presence, like Satori and Zen, provide glimpses of enlightenment. However, we often do not realize them because our minds quickly take over again. The less time between perception and thought, the less conscious and aware we are. Many people are trapped in their minds and unable to perceive natural beauty. Presence is consciousness becoming aware of itself. Although being is timeless, in this world its consciousness seems to evolve. However, everything, even stones, has some degree of consciousness. The world arises when consciousness takes form. Life forms come and go, like a divine game. We mistakenly create separate identities and egos. Human consciousness has become wholly identified with form. However, suffering forces us to disidentify and awaken. We can become the watcher of our mind. When consciousness frees itself from form, it becomes pure presence. This is happening in some people now and may happen on a larger scale, though there are no guarantees. If humans are not free from the egoic mind, they may destroy themselves. The collective egoic mind is the most dangerous entity on the planet. We must transcend it through presence. Here is a summary. The body can be a gateway into the realm of being. Being cannot be understood by the mind, it must be felt. Being in the I am that exists beyond name and form. Realizing your being is enlightenment. It frees you from identifying with the body-mind, from fear, and the suffering caused by this misidentification. The word sin points to this, but it is not essential. Do not get stuck on words, look beyond them to the reality they point to. Being must be felt, like honey must be tasted, not just studied. Here's a summary. Humans share many essential bodily functions with animals. Early humans found this disturbing and denied their animal nature. Shame and taboos developed around the body and sexuality. Humans disassociated from the body and saw themselves as having a body rather than being the body. Religions promoted disassociation from the body through denial of sense pleasures, asceticism, mortification of the flesh, trance states, and out-of-body experiences. However, enlightenment is not achieved through denying or escaping the body. Transformation happens through the body, not away from it. True masters never advocate leaving or fighting the body. Although out-of-body experiences can provide glimpses of liberation, you always return to the body. The body cannot be escaped, and it is where the essential work of spiritual transformation takes place. The critical point is that spiritual transformation occurs through fully accepting and inhabiting our physical bodily form, not denying or escaping from it. Our animal nature and physicality must be embraced and transcended, not avoided or vilified. Although the body is impermanent and illusion in one sense, it is where our journey to enlightenment must unfold. We cannot escape it or depart from it. Here is a summary. Only fragments of ancient spiritual teachings on the significance of the body survive today. Much needs to be recovered or corrected. The common belief that you are not your body has led to denial and attempts to escape the body. This has prevented many from attaining spiritual enlightenment. There is no need to recover lost teachings. All spiritual teachings come from the same source. The way to access that source is through the inner body. The body we perceive is not the ultimate reality. The mind creates it as a symbol of separation and impermanence. However, within the body is concealed our essential immortal reality. We must not fight or turn away from the body. We are the body. The outer body is an illusory veil covering the invisible inner body which connects us to the unmanifested, eternal one life, which is God. The key is to stay permanently connected to the inner body by constantly feeling it. This raises our vibrational frequency, making us less affected by negativity and more able to attract favorable circumstances. It keeps us anchored in the present moment. Make it a habit to feel the inner body whenever waiting or idle. This will transform your experience of life and give a depth never known before. Without this, we are run by the conditioned mind. When challenges arise, go within and feel the inner body immediately. This allows an intelligent response to emerge from your being rather than a conditioned reaction from the mind. Feeling uneasy when first focusing on the inner body is common. It indicates an underlying emotion that must be acknowledged and accepted before accessing the inner body. Attention and acceptance are vital to transforming emotions and breaking free of mental patterns like blame and resentment. Forgiveness happens naturally when we relinquish grievances and resistance to what is. Here's a summary. Presence is pure consciousness freed from the mind. The inner body is your connection to the unmanifested, the source. Awareness of the inner body brings you into the present moment and helps you access your true nature. The unmanifested and being are two words that point to the ineffable reality beyond words or thought. Do not get too attached to the words. You reclaim consciousness from the mind through awareness and awakening. Although your outer form continues, you can recognize the inner bodiless essence. As you identify more with the inner body, your outer body ages more slowly. Awareness of the inner body strengthens your immune system and helps protect you from negative mental and emotional energy. A simple meditation to boost your immunity involves flooding your body with attention, part by part. If it is feeling the inner body is complex, focus on your breath first. Visualize your body filled with light and breathe that in. Gradually focus more on the feeling. Use your mind in conjunction with the inner body. Drop into stillness, then resume thinking for fresh and creative thoughts. Think with your whole body, not just your head. Listen to others with your whole body, not just your mind. Give them space by feeling your own inner body. This allows you to truly listen without thinking. 129 Here is a summary. The unmanifested is the source of life and the inner essence of all beings. The formless realm of stillness and peace exists within all of us. While deep, dreamless sleep allows us to merge with the source, entering the unmanifested consciously through spiritual practice is liberating. We can become a bridge between the unmanifested and the physical world. The inner body, the now, cessation of thinking, and surrender are portals into the unmanifested. The inner body, in particular, allows us to feel the unmanifested throughout our daily lives. The unmanifested pervades the manifested world. We glimpse its reality when we dissolve psychological time and become intensely present. We can then feel its radiance in all beings and objects. Connecting with the unmanifested through these portals allows life to flow through us and liberates us from identification with form. Though we inhabit a body and life, we realize our deeper essence is the timeless, formless realm of being. With practice, we can remain rooted in the unmanifested while functioning in the world, bringing spiritual enlightenment into everyday living. We know the truth that sets us free. That covers the key points about accessing and embodying the unmanifested in our lives through spiritual practice. Please let me know if you want me to clarify or expand on any summary part. Here's a summary: letting go of mental emotional resistance to what it opens a portal to the unmanifested dimension. Resistance strengthens the ego and the feeling of separateness. Surrendering softens your identification with form and allows the unmanifested to shine through. Love is not a portal but comes through the portal. As long as you are trapped in form identity, there can be no love. The task is to find a portal, not search for love. There are many portals: listening to silence, being intensely present, disidentifying from thought, surrendering to what is, etc. Any portal will do. The unmanifested pervades the manifested world but is well disguised. Paying attention to outer silence creates inner silence, a portal. Sound arises, and silence returns. Silence enables the sound and is an intrinsic part of it. The essence of all things is emptiness or nothingness. Space is mostly empty. The matter is nearly space. Even inside atoms are mostly space. The form is emptiness. Emptiness is formed. Nothing or space is just nothing. It is the appearance of the unmanifested in the manifested world. However, it cannot be grasped or understood by the mind. Becoming aware of space is a portal. Withdrawing attention from objects in space, one withdraws attention from the mind. Awareness of space is awareness of no mind and pure consciousness. Space and silence are two aspects of the unmanifested. They are the inner equivalent of stillness, the creative womb of existence. Being unaware of this dimension causes imbalance, fear, and misperception. The unmanifested remains unaffected by the end of the manifested world. Remain connected to the unmanifested, value the manifested, but know it is fleeting. Overcome attachment to form. Space needs objects to exist and be perceived. Emptiness needs form. The one needed to become many in order for space to arise. Space and the universe arise simultaneously. Space comes from nothing, the unmanifested. Here is a summary: true enlightenment and fulfillment do not depend on relationships or future events. They can only be found in the present moment. Most people search for happiness and freedom through physical or psychological pleasures, believing these will save them from dissatisfaction or lack. However, any satisfaction from them is fleeting. True salvation is finding peace and wholeness within yourself in the present moment. It knows your deeper self, free of wanting and fear. Your mind says you cannot achieve this now, but now is the only place you can. There is no single path to salvation. You can start from any life condition. However, the only access point is the present moment. Nothing in the past or future prevents you from being present now. Relationships are deeply flawed without presence, the frequency of now. They seem perfect initially but soon become dysfunctional, oscillating between love and hate. Presence is required for relationships to become whole, conscious partnerships. 147 There are a few years between the polarities of love and hate, perhaps settling into a kind of comfortable unhappiness, a joyless compromise, or neutral boredom, the normal relationship. Such a pattern of dysfunction is regular only because it is the norm, but it is not natural or healthy, and there is nothing sane or fulfilling about it. Some couples break up, then get together again, break up again, and repeat that same pattern a few times. They cannot live with each other, nor can they live without each other. What is this love? It is addictive grasping and clinging, a mental emotional sickness. It is not love at all, although there is always the potential for true love, the flowering of real love. For true love to emerge, the deep discontent within you, your feeling of lack and incompleteness that fuels the grasping and clinging, must be addressed. Love cannot be found. It cannot flow into a dysfunctional relationship until you find it within yourself. How? By being still and feeling your inner body, by accessing formless awareness, the consciousness frequency that is present now. Through meditation or the power of your intention, become an observer, a dispassionate witness to the mind, to your thoughts and emotions and your reactions and behavior in your relationship. Herein lies peace and salvation, ending the vicious circle of grasping and clinging to addictive behavior. Your true nature then emerges. Love, joy, creativity, consciousness, and is reflected in a healthy and deeply fulfilling partnership. True partnerships are rare because they require two conscious individuals, awakened to their true nature. Can you see it now? Enlightenment is the true goal of any relationship. The relationship will only be functional if it becomes a vehicle for mutual awakening and accessing your true nature beyond ego. Every challenge in the relationship can be used for greater awakening and deepening. Without that context, challenges will endlessly repeat themselves, pulling you into unconscious reactive behavior. With that context, the relationship flourishes and keeps growing deeper as both partners evolve. It becomes transformative for both. Love naturally flows into such a relationship, and through it, more love is generated. What started perhaps as a karmic entanglement or addiction can become the primary relationship, a true gift. 148. Here is a summary. Couples often get caught in cycles of extreme closeness followed by conflict and distance. These cycles can become addictive and destructive over time. While eliminating the negative aspects of a relationship seems ideal, both the positive and negative are interdependent and arise from the same source. The positive, romantic aspects are as problematic as the negative, angry ones. We become addicted to romantic partners because we are seeking an escape from a deep sense of lack, fear, and incompleteness in ourselves. Physically, we seek union with the opposite sex to return to a sense of wholeness, but this is only a fleeting experience. Psychologically, our ego, or sense of self, feels insecure and inadequate, clinging to external things like relationships for fulfillment and identity. However, because relationships cannot meet our deepest needs, pain and unhappiness arise again. Every addiction, whether to a substance or a person, is an attempt to avoid facing our pain. When we come down from the high of romance or new love, we start to feel pain again, but we blame our partner instead of recognizing that the pain was always there within us. The way out of this cycle is to bring intense presence and awareness into our relationships and tap into the power of the now, which can dissolve our painful past and egoic illusions. By strengthening our presence, we avoid being taken over by negative thoughts and emotions and can perceive our partners as they are rather than as a source of our pain or identity. Conscious relationships based on shared presence and truth are possible when we can unconditionally love another person as they are rather than seeking to meet our own ego's needs. Here is a summary. You are the awareness, the stillness, the love, and joy beneath the thinker and mental noise. To know your true self is freedom and enlightenment. Disidentifying from your mind and mental patterns frees you from judgment and conflict. This allows for accepting what is and makes room for love, joy, and peace. Love is a state of being. It is within you and connects you to all of life. The intensity may vary, but the bond is the same. Brief glimpses of deeper connection can happen, but love cannot fully flourish until you are free of mind identification. Relationships now reflect the crisis of humanity's increasing identification with the mind. Many relationships are sources of pain and conflict, or people are alone. However, the crisis also represents opportunity. Accepting the facts of your situation and relationship creates an opening for transformation. Your knowing and acceptance creates space around the discord for it to change. Reactiveness keeps you unconscious. Make your relationship your spiritual practice by holding the knowing of each moment. Unconsciousness cannot coexist for long with knowing. The energy behind hostility cannot tolerate love. If you react, you become unconscious. However, know your reaction, and everything is recovered. Relationships are not meant to make us happy but to make us conscious. Accept this, and the relationship offers salvation. There is increasing pain, violence, confusion, and madness for those who do not. You alone can bring consciousness and sanity into the world through enlightenment. Do not wait for others or argue over who is unconscious. In argument, you have identified with your mind and ego. Know when you haven't returned to consciousness. Bring consciousness to your life to align with the higher consciousness waiting to emerge. Here is a summary. Women are naturally closer to enlightenment than men because it is easier for them to feel and be in their bodies. This allows them to be closer to being, the formless transcendental reality. Ancient cultures often used female figures to represent transcendental reality. For example, the Tao Te Ching describes the Tao, or being, as the infinite, eternally present, the mother of the universe. Women virtually embody the unmanifested. All creatures and things return to the source, which is seen as female. The goddess or divine mother gives and takes life. When humans lost touch with their divine essence, and the mind took over, they started to think of God as male. Society became male-dominated. Representing the divine as goddess instead of God helps redress the balance between male and female that was lost long ago. However, these representations are still concepts, temporarily helpful but ultimately a hindrance. The obstacles to enlightenment are essentially the same for men and women, but the emphasis differs. Women's obstacle tends to be a solid attachment to a personal self and personal life. Men's obstacle tends to be excessive reliance on an identification with the mind. For women, relinquishing the attachment to personal self and relationship is a significant challenge on the spiritual path. For men, relinquishing the mind as a self-identity is a significant challenge. Women may find it easier to reach enlightenment through feeling, men through awareness of thought. However, in the end, both feeling and thought must be transcended. Enlightenment lifts women and men above their gender-based conditioning. However, their essential feminine and masculine qualities continue to blossom and flavor their expression of enlightened consciousness. According to Eckhart Tolle, that covers the critical points on the differences and similarities between men's and women's paths to enlightenment. The ultimate obstacles are the same: identification with form rather than the formless. However, the path tends to differ in emphasis. Here's a summary. The pain body is more of an obstacle for women because women have accumulated more emotional pain over thousands of years of oppression and mistreatment. This has led to a solid collective female pain body that is passed on and felt by each woman to some degree. The pain body is the accumulated emotional pain suffered in one's past and the collective human psyche. Everyone's personal pain body also partakes in this collective pain body. The pain body has an energetic charge and can take over one's thoughts and actions, feeding on more pain and negativity. It is not one's true self. As long as one identifies with the pain body, one cannot be free of it. One must make it conscious by acknowledging its pain and understanding that it is not one's true self. The way to overcome the pain body is through alert consciousness in the present moment. This breaks the attachment to the pain body and transmutes the negative energy into consciousness. Women can use their menstrual period to become more conscious by catching the pain body by awakening premenstrual symptoms and transmuting those energies through presence and attention. This leads to freedom from unconsciousness and attachment to the collective female pain body. Though the collective female pain body comes from real historical oppression, identifying with a collective victim identity will only continue imprisoning women and blocking access to their true power and essence. The past cannot prevail against the power of the present moment. Consciousness and embracing the present moment is the way to overcome the mind, the obstacle for men, and the pain body, the chief obstacle for women, and access one's true nature. Though arising from different sources, the essential path is the same. Here's a summary. Happiness depends on external conditions being perceived as positive, while inner peace is independent of external conditions. Inner peace is a state of being. It is not possible to only attract favorable conditions in life. What appears unfavorable can often teach essential life lessons and lead to growth. From a higher perspective, conditions are neither positive nor negative. They are as they are. When you completely accept what is, rather than resisting it, there is no good or bad. Only a higher good transcends the duality of good and evil. This is the perspective beyond the mind and knowledge of good and evil. In times of suffering like illness, loss, or death, complete acceptance or forgiveness of the present moment allows one to be at peace. Though there may be sadness, there is a deep serenity and stillness underneath. This is not about pretending the negative does not exist or being in denial. It allows what is to be as it is without judgment or resistance. The peace that transcends happiness and unhappiness is a sacred presence. It is the emanation of being, God within. This is the state of enlightenment, being at one with being. The key is shifting from the mind and knowledge of good and evil to a state of presence and deep surrender to what is, allowing the moment to be as it is. This is enlightenment, the good beyond good and evil. Here are the key points. When fully conscious and accepting of what it is, drama and bad things no longer come into your life. The ego creates drama through resistance, control, greed, need for power, etc. Even if you live alone, you can create your drama through self-pity, guilt, anxiety, not living in the present, etc. Most people are attached to their life drama and fear awakening from it. When you accept what is, you end all drama. You can still make your point clearly without reactivity, defense, or attack. As long as you are physical, pain is possible, but the ego creates suffering. You access a deeper dimension of peace and joy by allowing what is. On the level of form, there are cycles of birth and death, creation and dissolution. Nothing lasts forever. The down cycles are as necessary as the up cycles. Failure and loss are concealed in every success. You can enjoy creating and manifesting while not being identified with forms. Your energy and activity levels also go through cycles. Fighting the cycles of low energy can lead to illness. The impermanence of all things is linked to the cyclical nature of the universe. However, through acceptance of this moment, you can access the eternal. So, In summary, you allow the impermanent, cyclical, and drama-filled aspect of life by accepting it and not resisting it. However, you also access a deeper dimension of peace that is eternal. This allows you to be active and creative without being attached or identified with any particular situation or outcome. You accept the ups and downs, the gains and losses, but remain anchored in being. This is how you can allow the situation to be and still take action. You come from a place of wisdom and peace instead of from ego reactions and attachments. Does this help clarify the paradox? Let me know if you have any other questions. Here's a summary. Impermanence and change are central to spiritual teachings. Everything in life is impermanent and in constant flux. As long as we cling to external conditions and identify with them as a source of happiness, suffering arises when they change or disappear. We need to connect with the formless and timeless within us, our true nature, to find serenity. Happiness based on external conditions will always be temporary and superficial. True joy arises from within, from our being, and is uncaused. Realizing there is no salvation in external things or the ego can lead to angst and enlightenment. Accepting what is without resistance leads to grace, ease, and inner peace independent of conditions. Negativity arises from resisting the present moment and is dysfunctional. It does not create positive change but perpetuates the ego and unhealthy conditions. No other life forms know negativity or unhappiness like humans do. We can learn acceptance of the present and surrender to life by observing nature. Releasing pent-up energy prevents it from turning into negativity. Our minds and insanity are the only factors that make negativity and unhappiness possible. Here's a summary. The key message is that negativity often arises from a lack of presence and consciousness. Recurring negative emotions contain an important message that you need to wake up and be more present. The only way to overcome negativity is by raising your consciousness and becoming more present. While negativity can serve as a helpful signal, you do not need it once you reach a certain level of presence. You can drop adverse reactions by realizing they serve no purpose and accepting what is. You can also make negativity disappear by imagining yourself becoming transparent about the external cause of your reaction. Offer no resistance. Let the external event pass right through you. To find inner peace, stop seeking and accept your current state. Forgive yourself for not being at peace. What you accept fully will take you to peace. This is the miracle of surrender. Your inner reality remains still, even while the surface forms of your life change. You can enjoy life's changes but do not cling to any particular form. See beyond surface forms to others' radiant inner being. Compassion is recognizing your shared vulnerability and connection with all beings. Meditate on your shared mortality to cultivate humility and compassion. Here's a summary. The body and death are a part of the same illusion created by the ego. The ego perceives itself as separate and under constant threat, creating the illusion of being a physical body that is born and dies. However, in reality, there is no birth and no death. Body and death are one illusion. You can only have one with the other. You need not escape the body or look elsewhere to overcome this illusion. It would help if you looked within the illusion to find your true nature concealed inside. The world you perceive is a reflection of your consciousness. You see a world of conflict and death if you believe in separation and struggle. If you know your connectedness to the source, you inhabit a heavenly realm. Though all worlds are interconnected, each being perceives its world according to its consciousness. The collective human world reflects the egoic human mind dominated by fear. However, as humans awaken, the world will transform. All of creation waits for humans to become enlightened. A new consciousness will emerge, and the world will be redeemed. Your primary task is not to change the world but to awaken from identification with form. Free of ego, you can enjoy the world but not cling to it. You are connected to something vaster. You then contribute to the world by being a peace that heals and transforms. Unconscious behavior does not disturb your peace. You teach through being, eliminating suffering and unconsciousness. You may also teach through words and deeds, but who you are is more powerful. Seeing the primacy of being does not exclude acting with compassion on the level of form. In summary, the ego creates the illusion of the body and death, but there is no birth or death. The world reflects consciousness, so as we awaken, the world transforms. We must wake up by seeing through the illusion of form, then contribute to the world through our peace and being. Though we act with compassion, being is primary. Our peace creates change by transforming unconsciousness into awareness. Here's a summary. Surrender is not the same as passively accepting undesirable circumstances or failing to take action. It means accepting the present moment without resistance. It allows you to break free of unconscious resistance patterns perpetuating unsatisfactory situations. Surrender connects you with your being and the source of life energy. This enhances the quality of your consciousness and any actions you take. Surrendered action is joyful and arises from inner alignment rather than dissatisfaction or discomfort. The quality of your consciousness now determines your future. Surrender is the most important thing you can do to improve your life. Action follows from surrender, not the other way around. Surrender eliminates suffering and unhappiness. When you accept the present moment, you rise above any unpleasant circumstances. You gain a clear perception of what needs to be done and take action step by step without dissatisfaction. You can learn from nature how to accomplish things and unfold miracles without unhappiness or resistance. Separate the present instant and surrender to what is. Cease being controlled by external conditions. You can then take care of external conditions. Motivation for positive change does not require dissatisfaction. In the surrendered state, you see clearly what needs to change and have the energy to take action through alignment with your inner being. Any dissatisfaction is a distraction and hinders consciousness and flow. Progress occurs through accepting and surrendered action, not resistance to what is. This allows for the emergence of new forms at the right time. Forcing solutions creates unintended negative consequences. However, in surrender, the right action unfolds. In summary, surrender leads to inner peace, clarity, and positive and harmonious progress. However, it must be balanced with action and not used as an excuse for inaction or resignation. The key is accepting the present while taking care of external conditions and changing what needs to be changed. Here is a summary. Surrender does not mean passively accepting undesirable situations or manipulation by others. You can say no or remove yourself from the situation. However, do so consciously, not reactively. Primary focus should be on surrendering internally, not externally. Work on accepting what internal and external life and relationships are will reflect that shift. In relationships and arguments, consciously observe your egoic reactions like defensiveness, aggression, and the need to be correct. Feel the energetic charge behind those reactions. Then choose to drop your resistance and surrender to the present moment. Dropping resistance means releasing the entire mental and emotional energetic field fighting for power or superiority. It results in feeling light, clear, and peaceful. When you surrender internally, the other person's mental/emotional stance often shifts in response. However, that is not the primary motivation or goal. The goal is inner freedom and peace. Surrender is about accepting this moment, not using this moment as a means to some future end or ego gratification. Similarly, it means accepting others as they are, not as a means to an end for you. The most profound freedom comes from accepting this moment as it is, no matter what it is, rather than resisting what is. Resistance creates suffering, surrender creates peace. That covers some main points around surrender, non-resistance, relationships, and the difference between external and internal surrender. Let me know if you want me to clarify or expand on any summary part. Here is a summary. Surrender is inner acceptance of what is without any reservations. It is about surrendering to the present moment, not the external conditions of your life. Illness or disability is not the problem. Non-acceptance and resistance is the problem. One can find inner peace by withdrawing time from the illness and embracing the present moment. The illness is not who you are. Limit situations, or intense suffering, have the potential to crack the ego and force one into a state of surrender and awakened consciousness. However, there is no guarantee this will happen, as some may descend into more excellent resistance and hell. However, for some, partial or complete surrender can lead to serenity, peace, and glimpses into enlightened consciousness. The Stoic philosopher's response to his son's death may or may not have reflected inner surrender. We cannot know his inner state. Surrender is accepting each moment, saying yes to what is. When one cannot surrender, one gets another chance to do so. Non-resistance, acceptance, and presence lead to grace, lightness, and freedom from struggle. When one cannot be present, habitual and reactive patterns take over. However, there is always another opportunity to awaken to the now. The key points are that surrender transforms one's experience and relationship to suffering, illness, loss, and limited situations. One can access peace and serenity by accepting what is in each moment. Moreover, each moment presents a new opportunity for surrender and awakening. Here is a summary. Suffering implies resistance. Finding God means surrender and acceptance of what is. Surrender is the end of the mind as the master and the opening of being. It leads to inner peace, joy, and love. The way of the cross, or enlightenment through suffering, was the only way in the past. Now there is also a faster way to live in the now. Many people remain unconscious and identify with their minds. They feel compelled to think and act in conditioned ways. Without consciousness, there is no choice. Your friend is stuck in her abusive relationship due to unconsciousness and conditioning, not due to choice. Her mind keeps her trapped through familiarity, fear of change, and low self-esteem. The key idea is that we remain unconscious and without actual choice until we disidentify from our minds and become present. Suffering often forces us to surrender into presence, thus enabling awakening. However, we can also consciously choose presence now by accepting what is. Here is a summary. The key message is that true enlightenment and freedom come from rising above conditioned mind patterns from the past and accessing the power of the now. This allows one to break free from the ego and the painful body. Some key points: you are not your mind. You are the observing presence behind your thoughts. Identification with the mind creates suffering. The now or present moment is the portal into the unmanifested, the infinite, and enlightenment. The past cannot survive in the now. Forgiveness is crucial but only possible when fully conscious and surrendering to the now. Resentment comes from mind identification and belief in choice. True forgiveness makes the past powerless. Enlightened relationships are based on consciousness and stillness rather than the mind. They transcend ego needs and the pain body. The higher good comes from presence, consciousness, and stillness. It goes beyond the mind's judgments of good and evil. Compassion arises from presence, consciousness, and seeing that we have no choice as long as we are identified with the mind. The appropriate response is compassion for this illness. Physical and emotional health depend on acknowledging and witnessing thoughts and the pain body without identifying with them. Inner body awareness anchors one in the now. Various techniques are given for accessing the now, such as surrendering, looking beyond words, inner body awareness, forgiveness, etc. The keys are continuously practicing presence and not identifying with the mind. That covers the essence and key highlights from the book on enlightenment, higher consciousness, and spiritual freedom articulated through the presence and the power of now. Please let me know if you want me to clarify or expand on any summary part. Book link, click here.